This is part 4 of the Baguio ART study titled The Extended Study. This is the 3-station route chosen by the De La Salle students for a Phase 1 ART project for Baguio. Viewers may wonder why the results of the study recommended only a 3-station route to solve Baguio's horrendous traffic congestion. The thesis panel instructed the study group to limit the study to only 3 stations in consideration of the limited time and resources of the students. To make a more comprehensive solution to Baguio's traffic problem, this extended study is made. It is mainly based on the De La Salle study and the successful implementation of ART in La Paz, Bolivia. The La Paz ART Phase 1 has 3 lines and 11 stations with a system length of 10 kilometers. In this extended study, the Baguio ART Phase 1 is proposed to have 3 lines and 14 stations with a system length of 10 kilometers. The green line of the extended study is based on the recommended line of the De La Salle study. The size of the Baguio ART Phase 1 is programmed such that it will be realistic and affordable to Baguio City. Bolivia and the Philippines have the same economic standing based on their respective per capita GDPs. Metro La Paz population is 3 times than that of Metro Baguio. The scale of the proposed Baguio ART is programmed to be about 1/3 in size as that of La Paz. Similarly, Baguio Phase 2 will be on a smaller scale than that of La Paz Phase 2, depending on the demand and what Baguio can afford. One major reason for this extended study is to provide inputs to the national government to help Baguio solve its transportation and pollution problems. ART can help preserve the beautiful and eliminate the ugly of Baguio City. Based on news articles, monorail, AGT, and LRT have been proposed recently in Baguio as a means of mass transportation. BRT will not work in Baguio because the major roads are too narrow and have so many intersections at short distances. Also, most of Baguio is hilly. As to LRT, it has been mentioned only once, never to be heard of again in government pronouncements. In this extended study, we will include ART as one of the options. ART will be compared to all other systems to highlight its strengths as a viable option. In news articles, the proposed Baguio mass transport is referred to as either monorail or AGT. The proposed Baguio ART will be compared to both. A pre-FS was already completed in 2015 for a monorail project in Baguio. A 10 million peso FS has been requested for a more detailed study before construction. This extended study has no intention of derailing the monorail study. Its intention is only to help the city get the best mass transportation system by proposing to include ART as an option. These are the 3 systems that have already been proposed for Baguio, namely monorail, LRT, and AGT. Some of its features are shown on this page. These are the map and specifications of the proposed Baguio AGT system. The 7.3-kilometer Baguio AGT is estimated to cost 7 billion pesos. Since the proposed Baguio ART is partly based on the design of the La Paz ART, let us compare the characteristics of both cities to help us determine whether ART is feasible in Baguio. We have bounded the populated areas of both cities by yellow lines. This will enable us to estimate the population density of both cities. Although Baguio is smaller, it is slightly more densely populated than La Paz. Baguio is the 5th densest city in the Philippines out of 145 cities. Both metro areas have mountainous topographies and similar population densities. Both cities suffer the same heavy traffic. In the case of La Paz, the photos shown here were taken before ART was installed. There is much lesser traffic now in La Paz. This page shows the proposed Baguio AGT and ART systems. The AGT network is divided into two lines, namely the La Trinidad line and the Baguio City line. Recognizing the heavy traffic in Baguio City, ART prioritizes all lines to be initially installed in Baguio City. Lines to La Trinidad is proposed to be installed later. Shown in green dotted lines are the land area limits of Baguio City. This pink boundary is the influence area of Baguio AGT relative to the boundary of Baguio City. This red rectangle is the influence area of the La Trinidad line. This yellow rectangle is the influence area of the Baguio City line. This light blue square is the influence area of the Baguio ART. The Baguio ART will be able to solve the traffic congestion more than the Baguio AGT because it covers an area that is 4 times bigger. But it does not initially service the residents of La Trinidad. For the meantime, a station with a large bus station can be placed here to connect it to the ART. This will service the needs of the La Trinidad residents. Phase 1 for both the AGT and ART are not enough. For AGT, it needs to expand within Baguio City, most likely in this area. However, this area is quite hilly. It is likely that AGT will not be feasible in this area due to curvature and slope limitations. These limitations can be overcome by tunneling to build a subway like in the mountainous cities of Switzerland. But it can cost up to 5 times more, an amount that Baguio cannot afford. For the same amount of money, the ART can expand on a bigger scale. This time, it now covers La Trinidad. As shown, ART will have a bigger coverage bounded in light blue than AGT bounded in pink. Shown here again is the Baguio ART Phase 1 and Phase 2, which will now cover La Trinidad. These are the possible stations of ART and AGT in 2 phases. This page shows the basic structure of ART. Let us now compare ART versus AGT. Then ART versus monorail. Electrical poles and wires. ART pole and wires. The ART pole and wires are only slightly thicker than those of electrical poles and wires. Thin rope versus thick concrete beam. Thin hollow steel pole versus thick concrete column. 100 meters to 900 meters pole-to-pole spacing versus 30 meters column-to-column spacing. In summary, it is clear in this page that ART requires less materials and mechanical parts than AGT or monorail. Consequently, it is cheaper to construct and maintain. It also requires less right-of-way. One way to judge the viability of a mass transportation system is to evaluate the number of installations a system has throughout the world. As to monorail, Wikipedia has listed decommissioned or cancelled monorails. This may indicate that for various reasons, monorails may be losing popularity as a means of mass transportation. This is the comparative growth of BRT, ART, and monorail in its beginning years. ART has much more installations than BRT and monorail in its beginnings by a very wide margin. Shown here are monorail installations from 2000 up to the present. Only 19 have been installed in the past 18 years. This table shows comparative installations of BRT, ART, and MRT and/or subway. ART is way behind BRT since it is much newer. BRT is doing well because it is also relatively cheap to construct and operate. But there are certain conditions that will make BRT successful. ART is expected to rapidly rise in the next several years that could rival BRT in the number of installations. This page shows the comparison of Baguio AGT and monorail in foreign countries. The Baguio AGT, as reported in newspapers, has a much higher capacity than other monorails and AGTs, as shown in this table. Specifically, the Baguio AGT has a design capacity that is about 5 times higher than a typical average monorail in Japan. Its announced capacity is 3 times higher than one of the largest AGTs in the world, the Tokyo AGT. Aside from the Baguio AGT having a much higher capacity than all others, it only costs half as much. This will be good for Baguio if this daily ridership can be achieved. We can further analyze the achievability of the ridership of the Baguio AGT from a different perspective by looking at the close-up view of the stations and considering only the Baguio portion of the AGT. The daily ridership of the 2.1-kilometer Baguio line at 200,000 is higher than that of LRT2 in Manila. This is despite the fact that LRT2 is 7 times longer, has 2 times more stations, is 3 times faster in speed, and has a 4 times bigger surrounding population. If you include the La Trinidad portion of the Baguio AGT, the result is the same. This table shows the cost and specifications of the La Paz ART. We can approximate the cost and specs of the Baguio ART using this data. These are the cost and specs of the Manila LRT2. We now compare its cost and specs with that of the Baguio ART. Comparing the two systems, we can see that LRT2 is 10 times bigger in capacity, is 4 times faster, and is 5 times more expensive. Furthermore, ART is expected to have zero subsidy, while the current LRTs in Manila receive a subsidy of billions of pesos per year. Yet, the LRT2 would only have a slightly higher present ridership than that of Baguio ART, which is based on the record ridership of the very new La Paz ART. The daily ridership of ART continues to grow rapidly since 2014. An equivalent length of an ART line could exceed the daily ridership of LRT2 within a few years. This proves that ART is a very efficient type of mass transportation. If ART can closely match the performance of LRT in Manila, then it is likely to exceed the performance of the Baguio AGT. ART system can be a viable alternative to the proposed Baguio AGT. ART can also be a good complementary system to all the higher capacity LRTs in Manila. It can be a feeder to Manila's LRTs, or serve lower capacity routes that is not viable to be served by an LRT. This chart shows the clustering of monorail, AGT, and ART. This is because they have similar capacities. But if you compare the passenger cabin capacity and speed of the gondola with those of the AGT and monorail as shown, it would seem unbelievable that ART can compete in transport capacity. This slide will show how ART is able to closely compete with the capacity of AGT or monorail. An AGT cabin or coach can carry 10 to 40 times more passengers than a gondola of an ART. It has 2 to 3 times the speed of a gondola. Offsetting these two advantages of the AGT is the lower waiting times between rides of the ART. At only 9 seconds of waiting time, this is 20 to 70 times lesser than that of an AGT. You might wonder how ART can do this when it needs to slow down and pick up passengers in a station. The technique used to maintain a 9-second gap throughout a line is the clustering of gondolas at the station. This technique will be graphically explained in detail in another video. Despite the many advantages of ART, it is not enough to solve the severe traffic problems of Baguio. Its advantages can be maximized to reduce further the traffic congestion in Baguio. 3 examples will be cited here. This page will show a sample improvement if the entry of vehicles to the core of Baguio City is controlled. Let us illustrate a sample route as shown in this table. The start is here, at this proposed combined provincial bus and ART station at Quezon Payas intersection. The final destination is here, at Quezon Hill. Coming in from Manila, if we use the present mode of a bus, it will take about 1 hour to get to the central bus terminal in downtown Baguio. Proceeding to the final destination will take an additional 45 minutes. If we use ART, from the first station to the next station it will only take 30 minutes. Proceeding to the final destination will take an additional 15 minutes. Using bus and jeepney, it will take 1 hour and 45 minutes, whereas using ART and jeepney, it will take only 45 minutes. On average, travel time using ART will be 2 to 3 times faster. A partner bus system shall be integrated with ART. The ART partner bus will directly feed the ART stations through the primary roads. PUJs and microbuses will feed the partner buses primarily through the secondary roads. PUJs or microbuses can feed ART directly if they will not clog the terminals. All other vehicles can directly feed the ART. The La Paz microbus is the equivalent of the Baguio jeepneys. Another complementary solution to ART is to improve the hierarchy of the road network system. This is the metro map of La Paz. It consists of 11 lines up to 2019. These are represented in the map by double lines. 5 more lines will be added by 2030. It has 2 partner bus systems whose routes are incorporated in this map. There are a total of 10 bus lines represented by single lines. The map does not include the minor routes taken by these other public utility vehicles that mainly feed the big partner buses. This page shows that in 2014, the capital city of La Paz, Bolivia had no mass transportation system. In 2014, it had its Phase 1 ART system opened. From nothing in 2014 to the expanded system in 2019 in just 5 years. ART is so successful in La Paz that it has spread to the smaller cities in Bolivia. The small city of Oruro, with a population of only 267,000 or half that of Baguio, completed its first line in 2018. ART systems in Sucre and Potosi have either a completed or ongoing study. Both cities are smaller than Baguio. This page shows that before 1984, Metro Manila had no mass transportation system. In the 1890s, Manila had trams just like the old cities of Europe and USA. It was destroyed in World War II. It was discontinued and replaced with the Filipino invention of the jeepney. The jeepneys completely took over until 1984 when the first LRT in Manila opened. In 1984, Manila LRT Line 1 was opened. From nothing in 1984 to the expanded system today, in 34 years consisting of 3 lines. The installations of LRT in Manila has not spread to the other cities in the Philippines in a span of 34 years, unlike in Bolivia, where ART has started to spread in other cities in less than 4 years. What other Philippine cities have are mere proposals. They all still rely on jeepneys to transport people in its traffic-prone cities. Let us compare the history and performance of transportation systems in the cities of La Paz and Manila. 34 years in Metro Manila and just 5 years in La Paz. This table will show the spectacular achievements of La Paz, despite its population being only 13% of the size of Manila. In just 4 years, La Paz leapfrogged Manila with the help of ART technology. Perhaps with ART technology, Manila and other Philippine cities can catch up. If ART has succeeded in the cities of Bolivia, There is no reason it cannot succeed in Philippine cities that have a population that is 2 times to 10 times bigger than the cities of Bolivia. If Bolivian cities can afford ART, so does the Philippines, since we have a similar wealth ranking. The Philippines has 36 cities that have a bigger population than Oruro and the potential to have its own ART. La Paz, before 2014, was a relatively unknown, chaotic, and traffic-prone city with a population of 1.7 million and a wealth ranking of number 120. It had no mass transportation system. After 2014 and 4 years later, it has joined the ranks of cities in the top 60 wealthiest countries in the world with sophisticated mass transportation systems. These wealthy cities started their mass transportation network from more than 120 years ago. It started with trams that evolved into modern trams, LRTs, MRTs, and subways. Many of the transportation systems in these wealthy cities are subsidized. The La Paz ART is so cheap to operate and makes a profit, there is no need for a subsidy. In this page, we have the transportation maps of equivalent cities in terms of population. These are cities in Luxembourg, Ireland, Norway, Switzerland, Netherlands, Sweden, Germany, and Australia. Denmark, Austria, Canada, Belgium, UK, France, Spain, and Italy. Czech Republic, Estonia, Portugal, Poland, Hungary, Latvia, Croatia, and Romania. These 24 cities shown here belong to the top 60 richest countries in the world. Bolivia is number 120, almost the same as that of the Philippines at number 118. This means that not only rich countries can have efficient mass transportation systems, but developing countries as well. As proven by Bolivia, this can be done through ART technology. In 2022, probably Baguio will still have no mass transportation system. If ART will be pursued, probably in 2022, Baguio will have a modern mass transportation system as shown in this map. The Philippines, through DOST, is currently developing an AGT mass transportation system using local technology. It is proposing to have this built in 3 cities, including Baguio. A 2-coach train was inaugurated in UP Diliman in April 2013. 5 years after the first test run, the latest news on the locally developed AGT is a news article that is dated April 2017, entitled, AGT Transit Technology Has a Long Way to Go. The government may choose to wait for this technology to be perfected or allow other options such as ART to be considered to solve the traffic crisis in the Philippines. The funding request for the feasibility study of the Baguio AGT has already been approved at the RDC level. The Terms of Reference, or TOR, can still be modified in the next RDC meetings to include ART as an additional option to the AGT. After the FS is completed, the government can implement the project under the usual financing schemes such as PPP, BOT, GAA, and ODA. If construction can start in 2020, completion may happen in 2022.